Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are taking another look at glass engraving with the marking paper. So the last time my personal attempt did work, however, obviously as soon as I did it on camera it didn't, and I had no idea why. Couldn't figure it out. But thanks to you guys, I have now an idea why it doesn't work. And I made some good progress and some, optimizations to how you should do it. I ran some material tests and I've now figured out how it works reliably. So, without further ado, we are starting right in. Here we're at the workbench and we are now changing a few things up from the last time. From one person in the comments, he wrote that you have to make sure to use the correct side. And the last time I thought I had used it, but from my second attempt I don't have any video, so it could possibly very well be that I used the same side for both tests. Now I didn't think that the side would matter, but thinking more about it, it does kind of make sense. Because the way this paper is constructed, you have this backing, so the white paper on the back. Then you have the black material, whatever it is, and then on top there is a tiny, very thin, clear plastic layer on top that probably holds it all together. And so when you apply it to a piece of glass and you have the transparent plastic layer in between the black dye and the glass, it's probably enough to insulate the glass from the heat that's produced from the laser hitting the black film. However, if you put it on correctly so that you have the transparent layer, then the dye and then the pane of glass, the laser will just shine right through the plastic, hit the dye and then heat up the glass. Because we are relying on like a tiny thin layer of dye to produce so much heat that it can melt glass, which is why this is so delicate and we have to make sure to use the correct side. So we are going to do that. I have soaked a piece of this film in some water. Then he also said in order to apply it better and more evenly, what he recommends is that I'm just holding the edge and then I'm pulling the backing away, and this works really well. I have to be careful to not get any bubbles in. Ooh, and this is super flat. So now I am not going to use a hairdryer, because I'm thinking if I put this much heat on it, then it's going to like shrivel up like it did the last time for me. So I'm just gonna maybe flatten it with the backing a bit, and then I'm gonna let it dry and report back if it is dried. So the marking paper should now be dried up. I just used some tissues and some paper towel, and I just pressed it on straight so I wouldn't move it around, and just let it soak out the moisture, and then it looks pretty good. Just shine it in the light. You can see the surface is not perfect. I still stand by it. I wouldn't use this, to put some lettering or something on glass or on like a bowl or a cup or something. But for our glass engraving, this should be much better than the last attempt. So I'm now going to run a material test on this piece to see if maybe we also need to change up some of the power and speed settings compared to the other marking mediums we tried. I'm gonna put this in the machine and then we'll see how it turns out. Here are the results of the engraving, and we can finally say it did work. We can definitely see the band in which it works is very narrow, because the lettering isn't even on there, because it had different settings than these squares. So you can see, I would say that the middle right one is the best result, and that's at 80% power on a 10 watt laser and 110 millimeters per second. I had on the material test, the resolution was at 100 lines per centimeter, not 120, which would be optimal. for this laser, so that would also account for some of the, the infill that isn't like super clear if you look at it close up. But it is definitely okay. And we finally, or at least I finally know that it was just a mistake. I had the thing not lined up correctly, and also the settings were a bit off, like by 10%, because this would also improve the results a bit. I was more over here, like on the middle one. So I'm gonna put on a larger piece of glass, and I'm gonna put in my KLM logo, like I did on all the other pieces, and then we maybe can even compare the results to my other attempts with the chalk spray. Here is the finished engraving result. Don't mind these things, this is the backside because I reused sheet from another attempt. So if we compare it to the one with the chalk spray, it's definitely darker, so parts of the marking paper will burn into the sheet, and it is not super even if you look at there. So like some parts are really, really nice. I think if you look in the light like this, then it looks really, really nice. But on some parts it is missing, which is, I can only imagine, is due to the coverage of the paper. Because I don't think you can get like parts that are, if it is inherently flawed, this method, why would such huge parts be nicely done? And even thinner lines like this nicely done, and then it's just missing on some parts. So you have to be really careful to get even coverage. With me, I covered it and I put it on a radiator to dry it out, to get some heat from down below, which worked good. I just made a mistake of like stretching it out, and therefore I introduced some bubbles, and I moved it around and it wasn't even. So you have to be, with larger engravings, you have to be careful that it is evenly covered. But if you manage to do that, it is a much better method than using the chalk spray, just because you can apply it to a tiny spot and don't have to worry about that. I used like a scraper used to clean your stove, to clean it off, and then it's super easy. That was it for this video. I hope you liked it and you learned something, at least as much as I did. If you did, then consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like, and then I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.